Welcome. I have not been making a lot of YouTube videos because I have been busy as fuck. Yo guys, I'm editing this video now. I'm just realizing that my eyes are never looking into the lens because I just tried this monitor today. If you're new around here, my name's Nico. I'm a filmmaker and director, entrepreneur. I take off my glasses for this. I typically make videos within the fashion and lifestyle niche and have had a bunch of fun making videos with brands such as Dr. Martens, e-commerce giant Zalando, shooting videos for Adidas runners. I've been away from this channel for a while because I've just been focusing on the business and really making that bread. I'm going to start off with the wins of this year because I like to start positive and I think it's really nice to reflect on these things. So the first thing was that I set the goal of hitting 100,000 euros in revenue, top line, by the end of this year. And at the start of the year, I was so unsure of how I would get there, but I had this gut instinct that I would somehow figure it out. And to give a bit of context, the year before I did 77. But this year, the year started off super slow, and I was like not even hitting 10K months. And I was like, okay, if this is how it's going to go, this is how it's going to go. But I held strong and I kept ticking along. And then by the end of this year, I ran the numbers. We hit 142,000 around about that. I am blown away by the fact that we hit this 100K goal at around September, or the start of September or end of September. And then everything on top is just like an insane bonus. And the weird fucked up thing is when I hit the 100 in September, I felt nothing. My brain went straight away. It just went, what about if you try and hit 150 by the end of the year? Which I almost did. And it was kind of messed up because I realized on reflection now in hindsight that setting these money goals is really motivating and it allows me to reverse engineer things. So I could reverse engineer how much I need to make each month and therefore how much I need to charge each project. So I have to have a minimum level of engagement for which I am to hit if I am to hit this yearly goal. However, the weird thing is emotionally, it's just like, it doesn't really mean anything. And in fact, I'll get on to more about that later. The next big goal that I had was to direct a fashion commercial that would have over 30,000 euros in budget. And I got that just this month. I got that in December, which was a crazy and it's still going on. It's a crazy experience and lovely. But it was like, I didn't know when it would happen. I kept looking at this. I have a list of manifestations that I have at the start of the year. I set my intentions like very clearly of what kind of things I want to achieve. And when I was looking at my list, I was like, this one's probably not going to happen this year. And then it came around. I got the request in November and brought the whole production actually. And then I brought the production to another production company because I was burnt out as fuck. That is how that one went. I successfully directed something that I'm somewhat proud of and I'm excited to share it when it finally comes out. Another win that wasn't really a manifestation was that in the middle of the year, I hit a 35,000 euro month, which is kind of insane to me, but that was just top line. So that's after paying people and everything. I took away, I think, 20 maybe, but it was like very interesting to see how, that was like half of my revenue that I made the year before, but just in 1 month. It definitely boosted my confidence and made me feel like I could go out and make sort of more projects. And the thing is, that this month where I pulled in the 35K, it was done with so much ease and it was not done in a way that was like, I'm stressing my ass off. Like I'm absolutely trying to keep my head above water. It was really like, oh, that's the project happening there. And then I'll do this project. I think I did 2 projects that month to make that come in. I wasn't even on the other project that brought in most of the cash as a production. And it made me realize, I don't have to be on location to earn money. So this is where I've experienced like a lot of growth in terms of hiring people this year. And another win for me this year has been working with an incredible editor. Yeah, I look forward to working with more editors and more people like David who are just absolute killers. Really, just so hardworking and unbelievably resilient. The next thing I realized that I don't want to produce as much. This year, I took on so many projects at so many inconvenient times. At one point, I think I had 5 projects on in a month, or 4. And I was going insane. I wasn't sleeping. I remember I was in Rome shooting a friend's project and I was editing. I woke up going to sleep at like 1 in the morning and waking up at 5 in the morning to knock out like an edit whilst David was working on another edit and then pre-production on another project. And it was just too much. What I realized was that I was taking on projects where I could have just said no to other projects and then had a higher profit margin in the other project. For example, I took on a project where, let's say, the budget was 10K, and then I'd end up paying 5K to freelancers and editors to also like make this project come alive with me. Like I would shoot it, but then, other editors and have other people on board. And then I would take on another project at the same time, which would only get me like, I don't know, 2.5K. And I was like, wait, why didn't I just do the edit myself on this other one and keep 2.5K and then not have to manage this other project at the same time? Now, obviously there's a nuance to this because a lot of the times the projects that were working in parallel had some other trait to them that made me want to do it. For example, I wanted to get the portfolio from that other project because I thought it was like an awesome project. But really only 2 of those projects were like that. The other ones were just me kind of being in desperation to hit this money goal, which wasn't great for my stress, anxiety levels, or anything like that. So, okay, I'm going to go to like losses now because I kind of just covered that and we'll segue into that. I felt like this year I worked way too hard. And working hard doesn't necessarily mean getting better results. Something I learned was that if you take on too much, then that comes at the cost of your mental health. And of course, probably heard this a lot of the time, but I think in this industry, it's very, in advertisement especially, it's very reactive. And so there's a certain amount of time that is required for oneself to feel good. And I never felt like I could switch off at one point. At one point, I was just like sitting in bed going like, make it stop. I don't want to have to wake up tomorrow and speak to 5 people and make all these things happen. And I realized that, yeah, I essentially was taking on too much and I burnt out. Like in November, I was really over it. And like I was feeling aggressive at like random things. It would be like someone would send me an email and I'd just be pissed off. But yeah, that was the biggest sort of loss for this year or lesson. I did not get into this to just like earn money. In fact, I didn't know you could even earn money from videos like 4 years ago when I started. I just did it for the pure joy and excitement of just making shit, like being locked in the editing room, going out and seeing the world and filming stuff. And now like it became so money oriented this year that I lost that essence and I lost that joy. And I think it's really easy to do in the filmmaking / videography directing industry because there's always compromises being made. Fortunately, I work on so many projects where clients just say, Nico, we love your style, do your thing. So grateful for this. I'm unbelievably blessed to be in a position to do this. Obviously, the projects aren't massive, but they're still great projects. And a lot of these come through like Dr. Martens, and even just had a request recently from Zalando. Whether it goes through or not, I don't know. They were just like, well, we like your creative style and I trust you to do something creative. So I'm very, very grateful to be in this position right now. So here's one lesson that I learned this year, which is massive. Most knowledge and most stuff shared by people is not actually applicable to your current situation, and it's just noise. What do I mean by this? I feel like throughout this year, I've tried to learn and consume a lot of stuff that I thought would help me, when really all I needed to know was the next step. And the next step leads to the next step and to the next step. So this has been a thing for me for the past 5 years. I would get worried or I would not have clarity around what that next step was. And I would just go like learn a bunch of shit. It's actually not useful because it just creates like more decision paralysis, because then you have all this information in your head and you're just like, well, which one's actually applicable? And I think the main thing that I learned this year was to be able to discern between what is useful information and what is just noise. And I think this has really helped me progress as a filmmaker and as an entrepreneur, because a lot of the times we don't know the rest of those steps. And asking a mentor or finding somebody who knows and is close to you in terms of their journey, like maybe 1 or 2 steps ahead along in their journey, is like the best thing to do, because this advice is so nuanced that they're giving to me that I can apply it very, very quickly and take action on it quickly. And so to discern and understand what is noise and what is applicable and useful for me, I have to know exactly where I'm going and what I want, which requires a certain amount of self-awareness and confidence also. And this has been huge for me this year, because the confidence thing has come from me having tons of people give me suggestions, but me just backing myself and being like, I don't want your life. Whatever you're sharing with me now is like cool, but I don't want your lifestyle. I'm going to stick to my intuition and go with that and follow my excitement. Speaking of, and segueing to, I mentioned briefly, confidence. The next thing is that having an undeniable amount of confidence in yourself and your creative decisions and your decision making is something that I have developed this year. When I'm directing, when I'm producing, when I'm making decisions, I'm making hundreds of decisions on set or each day. And there has to be a certain amount of self-belief and confidence that comes with that, because if I'm listening to everybody's opinions, it clouds my judgment. And what I realize is, again, most of this information is not applicable, and the skill is learning to be able to figure out what information is applicable and not. And so having just an undeniable amount of confidence, which I've sort of developed these past few years of just making videos and having to make big decisions with large amounts of money, it's helped me really, learn to back myself. It's really easy in this industry to have someone breathing down your neck, to have other people going, oh, yeah, what do you think about this? And the picture in the background is like not very nice, and this and this. And if you like it and you can justify it, and it's your creative vision as a director, and it's your business and you made this shit. The reason why everyone's there is because you brought them there. I think you can trust in yourself to say, let's keep the picture because I like it. And sometimes that's okay. Like it's really been a hard thing for me to go through, and that's why I'm sharing this now. Is I always believe that I was a service-based business. Therefore, I have to serve, and I have to basically be like, here, hello, yes, you want that? Let's make it happen. When really it's kind of turned into a different dynamic now, where I am a service-based business, but I'm also an expert in my field and have a certain taste, and I have a certain aesthetic quality and a certain level of production that I want to hit. And so when these things aren't being met, I can push for them really hard. And I think I've been very grateful to have DPs and producers around me who have supported and shown me that I can just push without hurting people's emotions. That was always my concern. It was always like, oh, if I say to this person that I think we should go this way, then I'm going to offend them. It's just not the truth. At the end of the day, I think it's really important as a leader and as a director, as a producer, that you have to be very, very confident in these decisions and making decisions. And I think that applies to life and entrepreneurship as well. So that's something that I'm very grateful that I've sort of learned this year. Stress tolerance. This is the next one. Building up stress tolerance has been a crazy one. So last year I was not earning like a load of money from videos. And I would have a project come in. I think my first project that came in that was big was like $6,500. And of which most of that I didn't get. I think I got 3.5 out of it in the end. And I realized, I was so stressed for that. I was like, oh my God, like what if this thing goes away? I really need the money right now. And all these other thoughts. I couldn't sleep at night. I was so excited for the job. It was a good job. And I went and did it. And now a year and a half later, I wouldn't it doesn't occur to me that would make me feel stressed or anything like this, because I've just become so used to it. And I think this stress tolerance thing is really interesting, because stressful filmmaking videos in these films and running a business or trying to run a business, but it helps me grow. And it's really made me realize that a healthy, it's about regulating and figuring out the healthy amount of that growth to expand my tolerance / my horizon of what I can deal with. So when this project came in this year, which had over 30K in budget, like going up over 40K in budget for directing, it made me stress, but it was really like I knew I had such a solid team around me, and that the anxiety that I felt for this project was alleviated each step of the way when I found out more information. And I think that's something huge, is that if you're feeling anxious, or at least for me, this has worked for me this year, I felt anxious on projects that have really small budgets actually, but the main thing that made me anxious was that there was just unknown information. There was just unknowns, too many variables and unknowns. And like I'm sat there going like, okay, like how much stuff do I actually need to shoot this day? And just being super proactive, not sitting there in my fear and just being like, yo, what is happening, brand or agency or production? Like, what is going on with this? Because I need clarity around this. And just like asking for this clarity has been a huge thing, and figuring out you will get paid what you believe you deserve and not what you deserve. You can go and make films. I've gone out and made videos that have required a lot more work than I do now, and I've been paid fuck all. So like 2 years ago, I'd put in like 2 weeks worth of work and I'd get paid like 1.2 for the project. And now I don't take anything under 5,000 euros. Beneath all of this, it's coming down to your self-belief, the way you perceive yourself, and the money you charge and ask for obviously has to be justified in your results and in your ability to create videos, but it's also has to be justified to yourself. And so this year again has been another year of a lot of deep work and unlearning these shitty money narratives that we learn and pick up as kids, or at least I did. I'll only take on a project next year if it falls into two of these three things, which is it is earning me good cash and reaching my minimum level of engagement, to how much money, the minimum amount of money that is required for me to engage in a project for it to be profitable for me, whether it's building portfolio or whether it's expanding and creating network that I actually care about and want to potentially make future films with. And so it has to hit at least two of these points. And if it doesn't hit two of those points, I'm not taking on the project. Either way, that is how I'll go into 2024, because that framework has really helped me this year. Yeah, but the biggest thing that I've realized where I get my highest return with anything is when I follow my excitement. What do I mean by this? When I get excited about doing something, it could be extremely irrational actually and not logical. For example, I had shot a test project before I had another project because I wanted to test a gimbal. And I made a video out of that test video and that test shoot, sorry. And I put this video out and it got like no views. It didn't get anything. And it was just kind of just like, yeah, I wanted to make it. So I did it really for myself. And then I got an email like a week ago with this person saying, hey, we want to make a video, this big brand. We want to make a video potentially with you. And we want to potentially make these videos with you for the rest of the year. And we love this style. And we love what you did here in this video. And they sent me the video that I shared, which was this test video. And I was like, yeah, sure. That sounds exciting. And I realized that in my life, there's always been moments like this where I followed my excitement. I do something that doesn't make sense, like money-wise, like monetarily. And it doesn't make sense, like maybe in the time, like even when I was editing this video, I had zero time to edit this test project, but I still did it. I went home and I edited into the night. I was just like, fuck, I got to make this thing. I'm excited to make this thing. And I just put it out and it always seems to pay off, whether that's, in the future, or if that's just the excitement and keeping motivated and inspired to make it. That has always helped guide me. And I think I lost it this year, the excitement a bit in the video making. And I think next year I'm really trying to put myself in the position by which I can act out of that energy and that sort of mindset. What is exciting? Do it. It's like, that's it. And stay in that excitement by saying, which is my next point, no to fucking like everything. Like almost 99% of the things that I'm going to be asked and requested for this year, I will say no to. The main thing is saying no, and saying no to most projects, because every time I say no to these other projects, it's a huge space of time that I get to allocate to myself. And that's something that has really pained me and hurt me this year, was that every time I've taken on these smaller projects that I thought would be fun, I've said like no to myself, and I can't get that time back. And I could have not done a project and sat here and created something that I felt excited about. And that's the real thing for next year, is to really say no to projects that don't excite me, and say no, because I'm in the fortunate position to do that, and built myself into this situation, and to be very, very, very intentional with the projects that I work on. That obviously required me to go through a lot of shit, projects that I didn't want to work on, but I think at the end of the day, it's really been incredible to figure out what it is I want, what it is I don't want, and say no to most of those things, because then I get more time and energy for my own creations and my own creativity. 2 more things going into the new year. 1, I will write every single day in the morning. I will wake up early in the morning and I'll do that. So I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. from now on, so I can just not be disturbed, because once I hit like 9, people message me and they're like, what about this part of the project? And sometimes I always need that time for myself to regulate my thoughts and think and write and just create ideas, because I realize that I don't get that when I'm just working on the normal sort of 9 to 5 timeline. And then the next thing I'll do is I'm creating and externalizing this journey. So I'm going to document. I've set up my camera, I've set up my lights, I'm going to leave this shit here. I'm just going to document. Like all of this, I'm creating this for my younger self. And if it can help just one freelancer, and I really mean this, because I hear people say this all the time, but I really understand what they mean now. But if I can just help one freelancer, one filmmaker make 100K a year, then yeah, that's unbelievably fulfilling for me, because I've seen the way that it's changed my life. The way that I've evolved as a person, the way that I see the world, it's changed my life drastically. So if I can do that for one person, that would be amazing. Going into 2024, very rested and strong, and I hope to make some incredible shit, and hope to bring you guys along with me. And yeah, have a lovely day, take it easy, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.